Well, happy Friday to you and your family. Today we have a special feast day, St. Louis the 14th. He was 12 years old when he became king. Um, he was the founder of the great university, the Sorbonne, man of prayer, man of penance. I can't imagine being 12 years old and being a king of a whole country. But the gospel today, it's very simple, right? It's you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength. You shall love your neighbor as yourself, right? That makes up the 10 Commandments. I mean, for crying out loud, it makes up the whole foundation of Scripture. It makes up the whole reason of creation here on earth, of God's creation here on earth. Love the Lord your God with everything you got. Love your neighbor like you love yourself. And yet, those are the two most difficult things we can do. Why is it that we continue to retain for ourselves something in our hearts, whether it be a lot or a little, and that lot or a little doesn't allow us to give our hearts entirely to God? And yet He's given us Jesus, His Son. He's given us grace to actually do that. And yet we still say, you're not good enough for me, so I'm going to love this other thing. But that's not what Jesus is asking us. He's asking us to really give our hearts over to Him entirely. And then what about neighbor? Do you even like your neighbor next door? Honestly. Christ has asked us, God has asked us to love our neighbor as ourselves. And we know, you know how much you love yourself. It's difficult to love someone like we love ourselves, but that's the commandment. That's the commandment. To really go outside of ourselves, outside of our own ego for the sake of the other. But see, as difficult as these two commandments are, and yet they're commandments, so they are imperative, meaning we must do them. It says, you shall do this, meaning there's no option not to not do it. Even as difficult as these two commandments are, God gave us an example in His Son Jesus, whom we can look toward or look to. But also we have the saints, the countless saints that had the same struggles as us, that had the same difficulties with neighbor as us, and yet somehow through that free choice of grace they said, you know what, we are going to serve God with all we got, and we're going to attempt to love our neighbor with all we got. And if one or two of us on this video decide that, literally, you can change the world. Peace, God bless, and have a blessed weekend.